Hi, everyone. My name is Ross John Fortuny from GovCIO Media and Research, recording here from AUSA's annual meeting and exposition in D.C. Joining me now is Captain Brendan Shutt, Innovation Officer at the Marne Innovation Center in the United States Army. Welcome to the program.
Great to be here.
So I want to talk about the MIC, as it's called. What is the core mission of it, and how is it aligning with innovation in the Army as a whole?
Right, so the Innovation Center at 3ID, the Marne Innovation Center, it's really our mission to enable soldiers to solve high-impact problems. We don't necessarily, at our echelon, solve the problem for the soldier. Rather, we provide them the funding, the training, the equipment necessary for them to take their problem and then develop a solution, and then they have the opportunity to be the first beneficiaries of their solution. So the kind of purpose why we do that is to increase lethality within the division, as well as just enhance the operability of our armored fleet. But then lastly, potentially, probably most importantly, is just to foster a culture of innovation. In our platform model, we basically have, we can benefit from that positive feedback loop of having a soldier solve a problem, his buddy see that soldier solves a complex problem, gets recognition for it, and then they want to solve a problem, or they're on the lookout for good problems. So that's kind of what we do here at 3ID.
How do you encourage that within the individual soldiers? I know that sort of word of mouth and that kind of feedback loop is obviously deeply important, but how else are you empowering the soldiers to solve those problems?
Yeah, so it's really a grassroots initiative. So we have a presence at every major training event that 3ID does, whether that's working to integrate projects within the training event for the purpose of iterative testing and design, or sourcing problems. So if I go up to a random Bradley crew member and I say, "How you doing? You know, what problems are you having right now?" For example, like last week, I was out in the training center or the training area at Fort Stewart, and some soldier came up to me. He said, "Yeah, the crank on the crew serve the turret mounted crew serve that I have keeps breaking. If I just run over tough terrain, it breaks at the joint. It's so annoying because I can't really order it."
Right.
And then that's like an example of, all right, that's a real problem that impacts soldiers that we can probably help solve in a pretty expedient amount of time. And we can do it for probably cheaper than what the current procurement process is, as well as much faster than them being able to order the part.
Yeah, I imagine the speed of it is really one of the biggest things.
That's our value proposition, really, is how fast we can do things.
How often are these things scaled? I guess that's obviously the gold, the holy grail here.
That's the gold standard. We call it a project transition. So when we transition projects out of our innovation center, sometimes that's up towards like a higher Army organization with more funding, more smart people. It could be laterally to a different innovation center, or it could be down to the unit. So the FPV drone program, the Purpose-Built Attritable System program that originated in the Innovation Center, we've actually transitioned that down to the UAS platoons in both brigades. What that means is that they kind of took our initial swing at it, our minimum viable product, and then they iterated at their level, and they utilized their procurement methods to then scale fielding. I know that at Combined Resolve 2502 in this last May, they employed 50 one-way attack FPVs as a part of that, and they owned the scaling process. Ideally, we have a soldier project that gets picked up by either an industry partner or a university to work on as potentially a capstone or a research project, or get picked up by a program executive office or a product manager to then get formal, scaling through HQDA as opposed to kind of living within the unit.
Partnerships like academia and industry. You mentioned one way that works. How else are you partnering with them? What is their role in the Innovation Center?
Right. So we leverage the regional universities a lot for, I guess, more research-focused projects. We have a good relationship with Georgia Southern, basically because of the proximity. They're 45 minutes up the road. They have an awesome mechanical engineering and industrial engineering program that complements our problem sets that we have in 3ID, being mostly armored vehicles and whatnot. So we leverage them mostly through undergraduate capstones, through the mechanical engineering department, and sometimes the computer science department, mostly just to get a first swing at a complex problem set with a bunch of smart people who are ready to go get out of school and actually start solving problems. So it also gives us an opportunity to get an external perspective. Sometimes we get tunnel vision on how we want to solve things, and if we get a third-party perspective, that's really good. We've definitely had a few projects come out of capstones way better than they went in, and we definitely leverage those relationships. We also have a project right now with University of Florida, and we commonly work with the Georgia Institute of Technology up at Atlanta.
Oh, Georgia Tech, very nice. Yeah, having a second set of eyes, I'm sure, is always really
awesome.
important.
Plus, it's a bandwidth thing, too. It's like, I'm more of a project manager, project integrator. I don't have really time to research things in depth. The soldiers don't usually have time as well, so being able to outsource some of that effort, sometimes for free, sometimes for a very low price, that's very beneficial for us as far as like removing some of the burden of doing the innovation, and also allowing the students an opportunity to take a crack at a high-impact problem set.
So when it comes to solving these high-impact problem sets, some are going to be lower tech, I imagine, and some are going to be emerging tech kind of stuff, AI, quantum, things like that. How do you balance those things, and how does that work within the MIC?
No, that's a great question. So currently, right now, we at the MIC can solve 65% of our projects completely in-house with the equipment we have, with the personnel we have, with the time we have, frankly. Very complex solutions, the ones that include AI or like autonomous drones and all that stuff, we typically leverage our external DoD partners. Specifically, some good examples as of late is MIT and Lincoln Labs. We partner with them right now with, they call it the Sika drone, the Small Interceptor Counter-Air. We're getting the anti-armored variant, or rather we're supporting the testing of the anti-armored variant. That's something that, it's a one-way attack munition, effectively, a launched effect. We, in the MIC, don't really have the bandwidth or knowledge to really develop something that unique and that capable. So we leverage outside entities. Other ones are DevCom Armament Center, C5ISR, as well as we have a very strong relationship with DevCom AI2C, the Army's integrated artificial intelligence integration center. So the more complex stuff, we hope that they're working on something already in that domain, or we solicit the problem set for them to pick it up, or at least incorporate within their current project portfolio.
Collaboration-wise, how is that working within the Army? I know, obviously, you're talking about external stuff, but within the Army, do they love this? Do they hate this? Do they see you guys as annoying or great? Or?
We dance around some of the politics. We certainly don't want to be, I guess, malicious in our quote-unquote outdoing of some. I will say that our very lean budget sells very well when we're talking to Army leaders. Our median prototyping cost right now is $100, and that's mostly just the raw material associated with building some stuff. Industry sometimes usually has a more expensive product, and then when it goes through DevCom, it usually has a more expensive price tag. So we definitely we're not competing, because I acknowledge that DevCom and industry can build way better products. Our value proposition is that we build good stuff fast.
And innovative stuff, I imagine, right? Like
new
exactly. Problems that they may not have seen.
Exactly. Sometimes our transition process just looks about like informing requirements, or just giving like a unit's feedback on what their experience is. For example, something that we reached out to industry recently for was a small UAS mission planning tool. So basically, we have all these new drones that we have in our fleet. How do we actually plan missions in order to ensure that we have enough battery on objective to actually do what we're trying to do? That we don't lose radio line of sight as we're doing our flight path. So that's something that's outside the capability really of our division innovation center that we were able to leverage industry. But that's kind of how we separate it. We try and own as much as possible, because the closer that we keep that prototype development process, the faster that we can generate a solution with the warfighter and then field test, and we iterate on that.
Yeah, I'm sure something I've talked to many people in the services about is having the warfighter in those rooms.
Yeah.
They know the problems better than anybody.
Absolutely. So that's why we rely on the warfighter and the unit, usually at the platoon and company level, to really endorse and go after this project, whatever projects they're working on. Because, one, they get all the credit, and they're the direct beneficiary of that prototype. And if they're the ones who actually understand the problem. They've lived it probably multiple times over many years. They're able to understand exactly what they need in that minimum viable product, and those kind of details kind of get abstracted or lost in translation when you have a DevCom or whoever agency or organization working on a project across the country for a soldier at Fort Stewart. They might not have direct connection. They might kind of lose grasp on what the true problem is, or more commonly, the problem evolves. So like the problem of last year might not be as relevant,
sure,
especially in the emerging like technology domains, drones, AI, whatnot, but even in the advanced manufacturing domains, sometimes our problem set that we had last year isn't valid anymore, or it's become something that requires a completely different solution. And we can't really afford to waste time or allow that development process to get so slow that we're losing sight of the problem before we even solve it. So that's why we have the Innovation Center, and we try and hold as much development at our level as possible.
Yeah, I imagine agility is again
That's all it is.
another one of your things. Yeah.
Our money is in our adaptability. So
Before I let you go, I want to ask, like, what's sort of next? What do the shifts look like at MIC, and how are you sort of seeing the future for it?
So we're continuing to increase the size of our portfolio. We're increasing the capabilities that we have. We are trying to basically inform as many DoD partners, specifically like ForceCom partners, kind of how we do things, what our lessons learned are. We participate in a lot of forums, a lot of working groups to try and show people that this model works. You just have to get that top-down buy-in, and then you have to do kind of a grassroots initiative to get this thing cooking. Some small victories and the right people. That's really the recipe to getting this thing going. But as far as what's next, I'd love to see some sort of semi-formalization of the innovation process. I know true formalization might inhibit innovation, but right now I'm serving as like a standard excess officer in the headquarters. There's not an innovation spot. There's no skill identifier for me that I'm an innovative guy. So it's very difficult to undergo personnel turnover in these type of innovation spots because it's difficult to recruit. We recruit based on what soldiers work with us and what previous experiences we have, but that's not always like a model that's reliable. If we had in the Army a means of identifying that innovative talent, either through an ASI or some other sort of skill identifier, that would be beneficial to new soldiers arriving at a unit, and those commanders and first sergeants knowing that this is a guy I can lean on to kind of either head or contribute to my unit's innovative efforts. But we'll see. I mean, those types of policy changes take a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Take a lot of buy-in. I'm not holding my breath. In the meantime, I'm just trying to help soldiers solve some high-impact problems.
Yeah, doing the actual work.
That's
Always the most important thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Thanks for chatting with me.
No problem.
All right.
GovCast, along with Cybercast and HealthCast, is a production of GovCIO Media and Research. For more podcasts and to check out the other shows, head to govciomedia.com.